Ever get that feeling like you're connected to something much bigger? I mean, not like metaphorically, but like truly part of something way beyond yourself.
Yeah, totally.
What if I told you that that feeling, that sense of connection, maybe that's not just some emotional thing? What if it's actually a peek behind the curtain of reality?
Okay, I'm listening. Tell me more.
Well, welcome everyone to the Quantum Soul Channel.
In this deep dive, we're going to be going deep. I mean, really deep.
We're going to be questioning everything you think you know about reality, about boundaries, about being separate.
All that stuff, yeah.
Buckle up, because we're diving headfirst into the quantum realm, where the universe reveals its craziest secrets.
We'll be exploring quantum physics, but not just the science. We're going to look at how these principles affect you, your life, your thoughts, your destiny, everything.
Right, because we're all about bringing these mind-blowing concepts down to earth, so we can see how this stuff plays out in our everyday lives.
Because trust me, once you start seeing the world through a quantum lens, nothing looks the same.
All right, let's jump right into one of the wildest, most mind-bending concepts in quantum physics: quantum entanglement.
Entanglement. Where do we even start with that?
I like to think of it like two coins, right? You flip them at the same time. Now, normally, each coin lands heads or tails totally randomly.
Makes sense.
But with entanglement, these coins are like magically linked. No matter how far apart you separate them, if one lands heads, the other one instantly lands tails. It's like they're communicating faster than the speed of light.
Okay, I kind of see where you're going. But let's be clear, entanglement is way more than some magic trick. It's a real, scientifically proven principle of the universe.
Oh yeah, for sure. Scientists have done tons of experiments and they've seen this crazy correlation between quantum particles.
What happens is when particles get entangled, their properties, things like spin or polarization, get linked.
Right, and so if you measure one of them, you automatically know the other one. It's like they're mirroring each other, even if they're light years apart. It's pretty wild to think about.
And the thing is, there's no physical signal passing between them. It's instantaneous.
Which is super freaky. I mean, according to Einstein, nothing can travel faster than light. So how is this even possible?
That's the million-dollar question. Einstein himself called this spooky action at a distance because it really does challenge our understanding of cause and effect, of how reality works.
It makes you wonder if the universe is playing by rules we don't even know yet.
Maybe. But here's the bigger picture. If these tiny particles can be so deeply connected, what does that say about us, about consciousness?
Right, because we were made up of these particles too.
Exactly. And that brings us to the question, could this principle of entanglement be working on a larger scale, influencing our own lives and consciousness?
Now we're talking. I mean, think about the energy of our thoughts and emotions. Where does that go?
Okay, so I know where you're going with this. But before we get too far ahead, let's make one thing clear. There's still a lot we don't know about the relationship between quantum entanglement and consciousness.
Fair enough. But we can still explore the possibilities, right?
Of course. Speculation is half the fun. And honestly, there are some intriguing clues out there. Like, think about the research from the Heart Math Institute. They found that the human heart generates a powerful electromagnetic field.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that. That field actually extends way beyond the body. And it's not just some random electrical signal. It seems to be carrying information.
Right, like a bioenergetic fingerprint of our emotional state. And the crazy thing is, they found that this field can actually affect our surrounding. It can influence other people.
Which totally makes sense, right? We all know how we can feel someone's energy even without them saying anything. It's like we have these invisible antennas picking up on each other's vibes.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, if our hearts can have this kind of impact on the world around us, what about our thoughts?
I mean, our brains are constantly firing off electrical impulses. And physics teaches us that energy can't be destroyed. It can only transform.
Which begs the question, where does all that mental energy go? Does it dissipate into the ether? Or could it be interacting with some kind of field, maybe even in ways that echo quantum entanglement?
I like where you're going. So are you saying, like, if I have a really strong thought or emotion, could that be sending out a signal, like a vibration into the universe? And that vibration could be attracting similar vibrations back to me.
That's the idea. Some people call it the law of attraction. Like attracts like. You put out positive vibes, you attract positive experiences.
Okay, but from a scientific perspective, how does that actually work?
Well, we know that our brains generate measurable electromagnetic fields.
Sure.
These fields are associated with our thoughts and emotions. And while they're super weak compared to the heart's field, they're definitely there.
So is it like the more intense the emotion, the stronger the signal?
It's a way to think about it, yes.
Yeah.
And remember, we're all swimming in this sea of energy. energy, right? Everything is connected.
Right. So are you saying that our thoughts and emotions are like ripples in this ocean of energy?
That's a good analogy. And just like ripples can interfere with each other, our energetic vibrations can interact and influence each other.
This is blowing my mind. It's like our inner world is constantly shaping our outer world.
Precisely. But of course, the big question is, if our subconscious is this powerful force, why is it so hard to control?
Right. Why do we get stuck in these negative patterns?
Well, a lot of it comes down to programming. From the moment we're born, we're constantly absorbing information about the world.
From our parents, from society, from everything around us, right?
Exactly. And we're taught to see the world in a very specific way, a very limited way. We're taught to focus on the physical, on cause and effect, on what we can see and touch.
And to ignore all the subtle energetic stuff.
Exact, which is a shame, because that's where the real magic lies.
So you're saying we're basically programmed from childhood to limit our own potential?
To a large extent, yes. We're taught to believe that reality is fixed and unchangeable, but quantum physics is showing us that's just not true.
Speaking of childhood, have you heard of Dr. Bruce Lipton's work, the epigenetics guy?
Oh yeah, of course. Fascinating stuff. He talks about how the first 7 years of life are absolutely critical for shaping our subconscious beliefs.
Right, because during that time, our brains are mostly in this theta wave state, which makes us like sponges soaking up everything around us.
Exactly. And those early experiences, the beliefs we're exposed to, the things we're told, they get wired into our subconscious.
And the crazy thing is, Lipton says that up to 95% of our actions are actually driven by these subconscious programs.
Wow, that's a huge percentage.
It's crazy, right? So even if we consciously want to change, if our subconscious is running these old programs, it's like fighting an uphill battle.
Which is why so many people struggle to create lasting change, because they're trying to change their conscious thoughts without addressing the underlying subconscious beliefs.
And it's not like these beliefs are always negative.
Of course not. Sometimes they're just limiting.
Right. Like you might have this deep-seated belief that you're not good enough, or that you don't deserve success.
Or that money is evil, or that relationships are always painful. All sorts of things.
And these beliefs can manifest in our lives in all sorts of ways. We might self-sabotage or make choices that keep us stuck in the same old patterns, even if we don't consciously realize it.
Right. And it can be super frustrating because it can feel like you're trying so hard, but you're not getting anywhere.
It's like trying to drive a car with the parking brake on.
The good news is the subconscious isn't set in stone. We can reprogram it. It just takes awareness and effort.
It's like updating your computer's operating system.
Exactly. We can uninstall the old programs and install new ones that are more aligned with the life we want to create.
So if we can actually reprogram our subconscious, what are some ways to do that?
Well, there are a lot of different techniques. Things like meditation, visualization, affirmations, and even things like energy healing can be super effective.
We've talked a lot about entanglement, but I'm wondering if there might be other ways this universal interconnectedness is at play in our lives.
Oh, absolutely. Entanglement is just one piece of the puzzle.
So if our thoughts and intentions can actually influence reality, how does that actually work? What's the mechanism?
Well, one theory is that our minds are somehow tapping into a deeper level of reality, a quantum field where information is exchanged instantaneously.
Like a cosmic internet?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's actually some scientific evidence to support this idea.
Really?
Yeah. Physicist Rose and anesthesiologist Stuart Hameroff came up with something called the Orch-or theory.
Orch or R? What's that all about?
It suggests that consciousness actually arises from quantum processes happening inside our brain cell.
You're talking about those tiny structures called microtubules, right?
Exactly. And they believe that these microtubules are sensitive to and can interact with the quantum field.
So our thoughts aren't just confined to our brains.
Right. They're actually rippling out into the universe, influencing the fabric of reality.
That is wild. Okay, so let's say this is true. What are some of the implications? How would this play out in our lives?
Well, think about things like intuition or premonitions, those times when you just know something is going to happen.
Or when you think about someone and then they call you out of the blue.
Right. Or even things like telepathy or remote viewing.
Are you saying these could be examples of our minds tapping into this interconnected field?
It's definitely a possibility. And if that's true, it means that the potential of human consciousness is way beyond what we currently understand.
I love this. So basically, if we can learn to consciously access this interconnected field, we could start experiencing some pretty amazing things.
Exactly. We can manifest our desires faster, attract incredible opportunities, and develop a much deeper connection with our intuition.
But how do we actually do that?
Well, it all starts with understanding the power of our thoughts and emotions.
Because our internal state is constantly sending out signals, right?
Exactly. Our thoughts and emotions create vibrational patterns that ripple out into the universe. And these vibrations interact with everything us, influencing the people we meet, the opportunities that come our way, even the events that unfold in our lives.
So it's not just about thinking positive thoughts, it's about actually feeling those positive emotions.
Exactly. And there's actually a scientific explanation for this. Neuroscientist Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about the thought-emotion loop.
This thought-emotion loop.
Yeah, it's the idea that our thoughts create feelings, and then those feelings reinforce the initial thoughts, creating a feedback loop.
So if we're constantly thinking negative thoughts, we're actually creating more negativity in our lives.
Right, we're lowering our vibrational frequency and attracting more of the same.
But if we can break that cycle and start thinking and feeling positive, we can actually start to change our reality.
Exactly. We can raise our vibrational frequency and attract more positive experiences.
So how do we actually do that? How do we reprogram ourselves to vibrate at a higher frequency?
Well, there are a lot of different techniques, but some of the most powerful ones are meditation, visualization, and affirmation.
Meditation, how does that help?
Meditation helps to quiet the mind and allows us to access the subconscious where all those deep-seated beliefs are stored.
So we can start to identify and release those limiting beliefs.
Exactly. And visualization is a powerful tool for creating new, more empowering beliefs.
So if you want to manifest something, you can actually visualize it happening.
Yes, but it's important to visualize it with feeling. You have to really feel the emotions as already happening.
And affirmations, how do those work?
Affirmations are positive statements that you repeat to yourself, either out loud or silently.
Like, I am healthy, wealthy, and wise.
Exactly. And when you repeat these affirmations with conviction, you start to reprogram your subconscious mind.
So it's like we're literally rewiring our brains to think and feel differently.
Exactly. And the more we do these practices, the more our vibrational frequency starts to shift.
It sounds like a lot of work.
It is work, but it's the most rewarding work you'll ever do.
Because it's about becoming the best version of ourselves.
Exactly. And creating the life we truly desire.
It's amazing how these principles of quantum physics are actually validating a lot of ancient spiritual teachings.
It's true. A lot of ancient traditions talk about a universal life force energy that connects everything.
Like prana in yoga or qi in traditional Chinese medicine.
Exactly. And for centuries, these concepts were dismissed as mystical mumbo-jumbo. But now, quantum physics is showing us that there might be a scientific basis for these ideas.
I'm also thinking about Dr. David Bohm's holographic universe theory.
Oh yeah, that's a fascinating one. It suggests that reality as we perceive it is actually a projection from a deeper level of reality.
Like a hologram.
Exactly. Just like a small piece of a hologram contains information about the whole image, every part of the universe is interconnected and contains information about the whole.
That's so cool. And it ties in with the idea that we're all connected, right?
Right. And then there's Erwin Schrödinger. He was one of the pioneers of quantum mechanics, and he said that the mind and world are one.
Which is pretty much what mystics have been saying for thousands of years.
It is, isn't it?
I'm also thinking about things like deja vu or premonitions, or even those times when you feel like you just know someone, even though you've never met them before.
Right. Could those be glimpses of this interconnected reality?
And what about synchronicities? Those meaningful coincidences that seem to happen for a reason.
Could those be signs from the universe?
Or even messages from our higher selves.
It's all possible.
Yeah.
And the more we open our minds to these possibilities, the more we start to see them everywhere.
I love it. So we're not just these isolated individuals bumping around in a random universe.
Right. We're all interconnected. We're all part of something much bigger than ourselves.
And we have the power to shape our reality with our thoughts, our emotions, and our beliefs.
We do.
Yeah.
And the more we align ourselves with that truth, the more magical life becomes.
I totally agree. But one thing that trips people up is the whole idea of affirmations.
What do you mean?
Well, they think that if they just repeat these positive statements over and over, their lives will magically transform.
Right. But it's not that simple.
It's about more than just words. It's about feeling the emotions behind the words.
Exactly. And that's where a lot of people get stuck. Because if they have deep-seated beliefs that contradict their affirmations, those beliefs will usually win out.
So if you want to manifest abundance, but you secretly believe that you're not worthy of wealth, your affirmation won't really work.
Exactly. Because your subconscious mind is still sending out the signal of lack.
So how do we overcome that?
We have to dig deep and address those limiting beliefs. We have to reprogram our subconscious mind to align with our desires.
That sounds like a lot of work.
It can be, but it's worth it.
Because once you align your subconscious mind with your desires, that's when the magic really starts to happen.
Exactly. Exactly. That's when you start to see synchronicities popping up everywhere.
And opportunities falling into your lap.
And your life starts to flow with ease and grace.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of powerful techniques for tapping into our quantum potential.
And raising our vibrational frequency.
But what about surrender?
Ah, yes. Surrender. That's the final key.
It sounds counterintuitive, but it's actually about letting go of control.
Right. It's about trusting that the universe has your back.
So how do we actually practice surrender?
Well, one way is to cultivate a sense of gratitude.
Gratitude. But how does that help with surrender?
When you're grateful for what you have, you're shifting your focus from lack to abundance.
Which sends a powerful signal to the universe.
Exactly. And it helps you to let go of the need to control everything.
Because you trust that the universe will provide.
Exactly. And another important aspect of surrender is detachment.
Detachment from our desires.
Not necessarily from the desires themselves, but from the outcome.
So we can still have goals and dreams.
Absolutely. But we don't get attached to how or when they manifest.
We just trust that the universe has a plan.
Exactly. And when you can surrender and trust in the flow of life, that's when the magic really starts to happen.
I love this. So it's about aligning our intentions with our emotions and then surrendering to the universe.
Exactly. And when we do that, we become powerful co-creators of our reality.
Before we wrap up, if you're enjoying this deep dive into the quantum soul, hit that subscribe button.
And give this video a thumbs up.
And share it with your friends who might be on a similar journey.
And if you want to go even deeper, check out the 2 videos on the screen.
Click on the one that calls to you most strongly to continue exploring the mysteries of the universe and the power within.
Until next time.
Keep shining bright.